the fucking opposite happened. And now it's all like, the economy is great, the economy is wonderful. Is it really run by the secret societies of the fucking world? I don't know. So I thought I'd make a stream, talk about some cryptocurrency, because you could almost compare some cryptocurrency communities to a secret society. You could also compare things like the Fed itself, governments, to a secret society. There's certain rituals, ways to enter, etc., etc. Now, although some are less secret than others, because the definition of a secret society is an organization whose members are sworn to secrecy about its activities. Now, is not a document provided with completely blacked out the equivalent of that? So as you can see here on the whatever side of the screen that is, that you're watching, it is a document basically from the CIA, and it's not openly available. It's completely blacked out, and it's like, this is what they want you to know about everything. Maybe not everything, but some things. Now, I always want to watch this documentary from the History Channel now. But the next thing, right? So cryptocurrency, let's have a look. Sea of Red, and very strange things are happening in the cryptocurrency space, especially when like FTT's up and everything else is just dying. Not really dying, but it's just taking a bit of a punch and just a bit injured. We're seeing things down just a little bit, especially the things I focus on personally are real DeFi. Maybe Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum, I don't know. Ethereum, most likely, because, that's what EX runs on. But yeah, Pulse Chain is still, I feel like it's flying under the radar, but yeah, eventually people may cover it. Or is it because, Pulse Chain isn't a part of their secret society and they don't want to talk about it? Now, the next thing, everyone will be, some people within the cryptocurrency space will be noticing, talking about, even mainstream media is talking about this. US Treasury announced the largest enforcement action in our history against Binance. Basically, we have the founder, CZ, as he's known reportedly, to step down, faces charges in 4.3 billion settlement with US DOJ. Now, I don't know what they were doing, but it turns out charges along the lines of money laundering, bank fraud, sanctions violations, and part of that's not good. Like that is not what cryptocurrency was invented for. It's crazy, people. It's crazy. But at the same time, you can see exchanges, centralized exchanges, because I guess it's a necessary evil in some point, because of the KYC and things like that, allows for this shit to be picked up. And they talk about the anonymity of Bitcoin, like in terms of you can do whatever you want. It's like, no, you can send shit to people, send stuff, send tokens. You can access a database. You can, it's not even, you don't even have a wallet technically. You have seed phrases, which allows you to view data on a ledger and change the data, arguably, maybe, and or basically run code. But so you can do that somewhat anonymously, but with the on-chain data, if you ever were to give up your information about your actual wallet address or sign up to a centralized exchange, then you will be picked up in the big net of the surveillance state, which in some instances I don't disagree with. In other instances, I think it's breaching my civil liberties personally. Now, so that's a very complex, it's a very simple thing to a complex thing. Now, this article was worth read. Basically, the more complex the society, the less government control we need. I don't disagree with that. Maybe if you want, you can have a read of this, because things operate optimally when there's sometimes when there's less government intervention. If, for instance, a government comes in and decides that every single transaction needs to be tracked and traced in a way that is not possible, that would sort of hinder the progression of that particular industry, right? That may not be exactly 100% what they're saying here, but I'm sort of comparing that to that. Now, one thing that I can clearly pull from this and apply is the more complex society, the less government control we need, in terms of when you think about how complex society is, in terms of, places one might visit, purchases that might take place, and how each person is different and how each person does their business differently. If, for instance, in a complex society like that, a controlling body entity for whatever reason listens to another controlling body entity for whatever reason, I guess with good intention, even though if it was misinformed, the end result is freedom of association, freedom of movement, freedom of commerce, and freedom of worship can be taken away. Now, this is not in communist countries like in Red China, for example, but it was in it was in countries like Australia, for instance. This happened. In countries like the UK, this happened. In countries like the US, this happened. I'm speechless at this point in time. It happened across the world, right? And it really makes you wonder, had there been less sort of control on this, would we be in the same position we are now? What if let's go back and using hindsight, what if they were misinformed and they didn't roll out any lockdowns and they didn't roll out any mandatory masks, other than normal settings that would apply to things like elderly care and hospitals, where if you're feeling sick you should not enter, because prior to that it would be common, from my understanding, that for instance gastro could break out in a nursing home and severely affect that sort of setting. Same too with like a cold or extreme flu. Now, had the society continued on as normal and not be lured into this sort of position, where would we be right now? I'm not sure. So this is the timeline we've been given. This is what took place. Crazy. Now, so moving on from that, because we won't know, although we can see now, what I can see is some whispers almost in the media about certain statistics, and I honestly don't care anymore. I guess I'm aware of it. I experienced a lot, but I honestly do not care. If it gets really bad, I'm pretty sure someone will tell me how it's bad and why it's bad and explain to me. But I'm not going to be the one projecting bullshit. Like, it's just insane. What took place was, if you saw that Simpsons episode, the Chinese whispers, and the purple monkey dishwasher at the end was added to it. That's honestly what I think took place. Also, some other complex stuff which I won't talk about, because who actually knows, really? Who actually knows? Because as you can see, this document, that's what probably you're going to find out. Now, the next thing, moving on from that, see this here, Armor Recruiters now boldly advertise. So, why, for instance, was it required to start off with? This is from an actual article. This is not related to myself personally. I think Alaska now saying not required, so I'm not sure why that's even a thing. Like, why is this supposed to be more enticing now or less enticing? I'm not so sure the messaging is sitting in my mind clearly as to if this is a positive or negative. It's almost as if it's saying not required, so it's almost as if it's a positive. Like when you see a job advertisement and the pay is really good, you see, oh, that's pretty good, or you see some really good unique condition. So what was the point of the loss of freedom of association, freedom of movement, freedom of commerce, freedom of worship, up until this point? What was the actual point? This is why I question this regulation that's coming out regarding crypto. What is the actual point? It's bizarre. Now, the next thing is if you're looking for a job. How did you know the audio was on? What the fuck? Turn this down a little bit. Not if you're looking for a job, but if you order something from Chick-fil-A, you might just be getting it from a drone. It's kind of interesting. So the argument that how far away is flying cars is next. But people have probably already seen this. Chick-fil-A delivers by a drone. That's kind of cool. There's many negatives that could go into that. There's a few positives. But also, I could add that if drones, unless they're fully autonomous, which I don't think these ones would be because they're not probably for military purpose, it might create different types of jobs, and people that design, code these drones and fly them, operate them, even the systems, the navigation, would create a whole new interesting industries, which would be pretty cool to see how it all plays out. So as long as they're not hurting people, and as long as people aren't getting affected in a negative way, I don't see a real issue with that. I mean, I would assume they're not like flying lawnmowers, because they're like flying petrol lawnmowers. They're going to just combust because there's fuel and shit like that. Although the batteries could be an issue, but I don't think they're going to be injuring people. But yeah, ensuring these things will be very interesting. The company policies, how they're going to be ensuring that. That's another thing I can think of. Now, moving on from that. So the name of this stream, Secret Societies, right? I'm not saying cryptocurrencies are a secret society. I'm not saying the Treasury Department. I'm not saying Binance. I'm not saying reporters. I'm just pointing out, that maybe when you think about it, there could be secret societies. I'm like, nah, no way. So then this this article comes out, I'm reading, I'm like, what? And it's actually got like leaked footage about, the ceremonies. I don't know, man. Like maybe this is worldwide, if there's Masonic temples near your area, because there's actually a few here in little old South Australia, and I'm like, so maybe the rituals are the same. I don't know, man. I'm just like, what's going on? Yeah, so tie that into work, tie that into investing, however you want to go with that. It's just interesting. Now, at a higher level, possibly, or maybe a different level, there's the old Bohemian Grove that apparently is like, well, I don't know. Maybe the you graduate from being a 33 level, whatever it is, Mason, 33 degree level Mason into the Bohemian Grove Club. Maybe they're Masons in there. I don't know how. But there's some interesting books about it. There's more recent articles inside the Secretive Elites Men's Society, Bohemian Club that has rich and famous members who want to relive their wild college days. Okay. What else? Oh yeah, and if you want to, you've probably seen this everywhere. The dark secrets inside Bohemian Grove. It's funny. The YouTube channel did put a context note to it, but they can't deny that it actually exists, or it's like some conspiracy theory. So that's interesting in itself. What else? So from a hex point of view, a hexkin point of view, that probably was not relevant at all. But if you're a Freemason, feel free to buy some cryptocurrency. If you're in the Bohemian Grove Club, feel free. Pump my bags. I'm quite happy with that. Man. But yeah, crypto's getting some attention, a lot of negative attention. Hence, that's why we're gonna see. I really think that's all this negative attention is why people are some people might be sort of off put by it. Some people might be hesitant, to look at it at the moment. Although then you've got the opposite talking point to that, which is the Bitcoin ETFs. Ethereum ETFs are coming, institutional money's coming, so maybe this is just some fun getting rid of some people, whilst also obviously getting rid of actual criminals and people who are, reportedly assisting in their criminal actions. Now, the next thing I can think of based on that is what was it? Yeah, so market's down. Most likely, the rates. That's right. It's honest. The economy is looking. I don't know. It's looking like it's trying to recover. I still think it's going to pull back because the economy can't. This soft landing talking point is insane, but it could play out because people are actually talking about it. And I've been watching Bloomberg. That's right. And one of the people on there, they're like, they said, if my kids had a Twitter account, I would be embarrassed. And I'm sitting there thinking, you're on like a mainstream media outlet like Bloomberg, and you've got you literally have a Twitter account with that connected to that, probably live streaming it, and then you're ripping into social. It's not even Twitter. You got it wrong. It's X. It's very fascinating to see, the older ways meeting with the newer ways, and with the legacy finance, man. Like I said, I got some signals now. So wrong, pisses me off so bad. I should have just gone. Like, I could have waited, and it could have gone down, and I could have got some more crypto. Instead, I went to play around with this legacy bullshit, got wrecked. And then I'm supposed to believe like this more of this legacy bullshit. So that's why when I read some of this stuff, I'm like, nah, man. If you're trying to tell me the answer to stocks is to buy more stocks, is the answer to the economy is to buy more stocks, I have to question your motive behind that. Now, I'm not even really sure why I make these videos. Beyond, I would say, having a positive experience in cryptocurrency for some particular cryptocurrencies, and also I like to think that I would be able to influence someone somewhere who could influence someone else, who could influence someone else, and maybe we make a better world, get some realization that, like this document, some things might be hidden from us. Now, whether or not you believe it's some secret society, whether or not you believe, whatever you believe, but if people can't realize that freedom of association, freedom of movement, freedom of commerce, and freedom of worship was literally taken from us, we allowed it to be taken from us, we gave it away, right? And like I said, when you give things away, it's very hard to get them back. And if peacefully and politically, legally, lawfully, right, if you push back, what if one thing that was once legal becomes illegal? Then what? This is what harsh regulation could do, regardless of your area of interest, regardless of your political standing, with your left, right, center, whatever. Doesn't matter. But if you, for instance, like, one thing I can think of here for some reason, purchasing of pets, animals, dogs specifically. I think cats too. You used to be able to go to a shop and purchase them, but now, because there were some bad actors, some regulations came through that were, I don't even know what they were, except for the fact that as an end user, pets of all, except for adopted ones, from shelters, which is probably the best option for some people. But pets to purchase now are extremely expensive. There's a huge premium on them because of this regulation that came through. So only registered breeders can actually sell animals now. And even though, they're technically just crossbreeds, mongrels, they cost so much. It's insane. But this is what arguably, this is how the economy functions. So, the more complex society, Maybe the less control we need, you know? I don't know. Maybe people would realize as adults that, you know, oh, maybe, you know, we shouldn't purchase from these people who are mean to the animals. Maybe we figure out there's people that are good to the animals. I don't know. I don't know. I think they should let the free market decide as opposed to government intervention, but it's hard to explain that. And whilst technically when we think about it, the Fed does, you know, intervene through its monetary policy, which then it flows onto the capital market, which then flows onto even cryptocurrency markets. It flows onto the third world as well, because whatever things that slightly, you know, we get a scratch and get slightly infected, that could kill someone in the third world if they don't have the right medicines, food, and nourishment. But no one seems to care about that. Ugh, it's crazy. It's a little bit sad, to be honest. So I'll close up, and like I said, yeah, secret societies used to be a running joke. The Hexagon cult, which is not. I'm telling you, it's not. I promise you, 33rd degree Masons, I promise you we're not like better than you and shit, you know. Don't want no beef with the Freemasons. Alright, that's what I got. Oh my god, man. Alright, so what's coming up? I'm guessing most people are thinking about, well, I'm personally thinking about the case with the Hex stuff, the Richard Hart stuff, the Pulsex stuff. I haven't actually read the paper fully. I don't fully understand it because I saw lots of things that were incorrect. But beyond that, yeah, no comment here. Plus, it's Australia, so I don't think it can affect me at all. I do wonder though, with the SEC, how is it that they roll this thing out, whatever it is, their case or whatever, and it absolutely destroys the price. Well, it makes the price go lower, and then that's about protecting the investor. I honestly think they smelt money and they were going after money, and that's why the I don't know, that's the only thing I can think of. Because everything else, you know, I don't believe everything I read. And sometimes, you know, if you look at this document here, that's all you get to read. But yeah, so that's gonna be interesting how that plays out. Thanksgiving holiday is gonna be a short week for traders. Cryptocurrency never turns off, so you can be on that 24/7 if you want. Whether that's healthy, or that's good for you, I'm not so sure. Whether or not you should be listening to people about it, I'm also not so sure, because, you know, beyond entertainment, why would anyone listen to anyone else unless they're getting their calls right 100% of the time? Or maybe not 100%, that's pretty hard to do, but maybe, you know, unless people are just purely creating their own narratives because they think that's gonna. I used to think I could influence, you know, one day I was on, I think it was like stock trading forums way ages ago. I was young too, and I was like, can you imagine if you could influence like one particular stock, right? And then I was like, imagine if you could influence one particular sector. Then I was like, imagine if you could influence the entire economy. So it's like, you know, those thoughts keep, you know, as you start thinking about things, you weigh it up, pros and cons, possibilities, impossibilities, and, you know, you sort of start thinking about things. You're like, well, it's interesting, and then you stumble across like certain outlets, media outlets, and then you stumble across certain publications, and you're like, they are clearly for this talking point, and this one is clearly for this talking point. So cryptocurrency related, you could be like, well, this person is clearly in favor of they really like this particular cryptocurrency. You're like, okay, cool. And then the same thing with media coverage, whether maybe they don't even know about a topic they're talking about, maybe they do, that's why it's covered, why it's not covered, maybe they're not interested, you know. Like, for instance, a gardening show is not going to sort of start talking about secret societies. It may, if they have a really good garden, but it's not going to sort of go into the weeds, lol. But so those thoughts continue on. Then it's like, well, hang on, what if these publications like the media or the TV show or the newspaper or the internet itself or social media, what if it's full of people that are, all trying to do this? And then you find out, well, that's true to some extent. And then you find out, well, what if they're like politically aligned? That could also be a factor depending on what country you're on. If, I mean, even if you're in China and you disagree with the politicians over there, you probably get shot, but like you could still disagree with them if you wanted to, if you could like sort of figure out a way to get that message out. So I'm like, that's interesting. So it could be, what's their intention? Is it a political motive? Is it and then even what country they come from? It's like, well, they could be from this particular media outlet and trying to influence other countries about their way of thinking. Now, there was an article, a YouTube video I was watching before. It was explaining how China basically tries to steal everything to innovate. So a lot of this open AI stuff, how it's going to develop, I don't know how it's going to roll out. But that's a bit off track. Now, the next thing I was like, well, hang on. So if, for instance, you have, people who have political motivations, interests, maybe they really like cars, and they really want to push why cars are good, or maybe they have a business selling tires or oils or fuel, who knows, or oil, an interest in oil, who knows. So then you have those aspects. This is starting to get a bit more complex. And then I'm like, hang on, what if some people are being paid to advertising, to sponsor things on TV, and then you have your free will, right? And you're watching a TV ad. You literally are your free will is literally being influenced by watching this TV ad, right? So I thought, so basically, we're all heavily encouraged to consume and purchase and buy, and then we need to be able to buy things, right? We need to be able to earn money, because that's what apparently rules us all, not knowledge, money, and how to get money. And so we then get sold these degrees. Some people get sold these degrees. Some people decide to build their own company from a garage. Some people may design their own cryptocurrency. Who knows? There's some very innovative, ingenious people out there. Now, or some people, they follow the queue in which they line up for, whether knowingly or unknowingly. What I mean by that, they might sort of go one route for education or another route for education, or just figure out how to earn money. So I'm starting to think, hang on, there's kind of something a bit wrong with the world. If our obsession is about money and purchasing things, and then our obsession is then influenced by the content we consume, could it not be possible, just slightly, that the things in place, like the media that we consume, the programs that we watch, even the channels like this that I create for some reason, isn't it just possible that all of it's trying to directly influence our decisions? And here I am, still trying to figure it all out, because I don't know about you, but I can't help but notice some things just don't feel right in the world. For instance, endless wars. For instance, the obsession with natural resources, which we have finite of, but we have infinite, wants, desires, needs. Apparently, according to the economy, economics 101. And for some reason, I feel as if we, as a species, in the last probably 3, 4, 5 generations or so, once the technology really kicked in, I feel as if we're just making similar mistakes over and over again. where, and I'm not sure what the answer is, because as you know, the standards of living improved amazingly, so bad. I mean, so good. Um, it makes, like, 100 years ago look almost unbearable compared to today, and then we whinge because we don't like some post on a social media outlet. And that's how far we've got. We've really advanced so hard that little tiny things annoy us, and I don't know if we're becoming weaker or softer. I'm not sure what it is. Because when you think about it, if you were living in the past, you had difficulties, and now all of a sudden you go into the future and you have this amazing range of options everywhere, maybe you just automatically become a little bit softer yourself. Now, yeah, what I was saying is basically these thoughts I have about how we get manipulated, what we consume in terms of information. I think it really does affect our outlook on life. So, for instance, if you're very negative, in terms of the content you consume without a drive to make the world better, you might just get sad, But at some point, maybe, just maybe, you get fed up with some things and want to try and change it to make it a better world. I think, for instance, if you look at people who are users of substances or whatever, prescription drugs, my understanding generally is most of the time you can take a horse to water, but they're not going to drink. I mean, they might drink all the bad stuff for them, but until they actually want to consume the clean, healthy water, they might not change, How you do that, I'm not so sure, because otherwise I'll be able to, I'll be able to make lots of money easily by manipulating other people. But personally, that's not my goal, I don't think, because I honestly think, and I'm starting to think this is not wrong in terms of like it's bad, but different in terms of way of thinking. I actually think that we all, try to do the right thing, and we all try to, not manipulate others for the benefits of oneself. But I use the road rage analogy myself. I find myself getting frustrated at others for no particular reason other than because I didn't get what I wanted, like a baby or something, and I'm crying on the road, But being angry is actually being sad if you look at the chart of emotions. But anyway, and so what I think it is that if I don't even know, like it could even happen within your own family. This is the problem. I mean, your mum and dad are probably the best things that ever happened to you ever, and if you can't realize that, which probably many people don't, then if you don't have a strong family structure, maybe you're gonna have some issues in society. I don't know, but I've also heard that if some wealthier families tend to send their children off to boarding schools so they don't develop a bond with, say, their mum, which makes them more successful in business. It makes them more ruthless, etc. Less emotional attachment. Because if, going back to the analogy where everything's sort of bought and paid for, everything is for a reason, like some of the information I'm consuming about legacy finance turns out to be completely wrong. How do you know there wasn't someone on the opposite trade side of that who was profiting insanely from that? Or it could have been a wrong call, who knows? But there's two things I can explain there. It's like even the experts get it wrong. Also, sometimes there can be, ulterior motives. And also, then you can go, thirdly, I think it's the whole way of mirrors. You don't know what the real image is that you're looking at. Hence, we see documents like this that are completely blacked out. That's why I just want to leave that document there, because I'm like, that could explain the reason why the reason why humanity, in terms of its technological achievements are where we are. Like we're seeing the use of older technology. Like we're seeing electric vehicles come out, which are like basically there's been forklifts like this for like so many years. Quote unquote electric vehicles. It's like very similar tech. The batteries, a bit different, but maybe they're a bit more compact. Maybe they're laid out a bit different. But that's been out for a while. Like, but apparently it's new. We're still using oil, burning it to get less. We're putting more in than we're getting out. Imagine if you had $1 million and it said, okay, you give me $1 million, I'll give you back 900,000. You'd be like, no, no. It's like then you give me the 900,000 and then I'll give you back 800,000. You'd be like, no. So that's with your money. Why would you do that with energy? That is where I'm not even sure where I heard it or whether I'm not sure I came up with it myself, but that is why I say time is money. Time is money, and what is time? It's like what you spend. Something we have finite amount of, I guess you could say as well. But that's why I always like connect time with money, and that would be the ability to earn. So time is money, ability to earn, therefore economic energy. I call it in terms of one's own economic energy, depending on how intelligent you are in terms of being able to create money. So if you have huge earning capabilities, your economic energy is stronger than someone else. Therefore, you can punch out a lot harder than someone who has less economic energy. Simply put, if you have more money, you can throw more weight around. But in saying that, then you compare that economic energy to something like BlackRock, Behemoth, and what can you really actually do to make change? Arguably, even if Bitcoin hits $1 million per Bitcoin, it becomes some huge. Michael Saylor becomes the richest guy in the world, for example. I was watching Max Kaiser and Gerald Celente before on a stream, a YouTube channel, and I'm like, that's a good point. Maybe it goes up to $1 million. Then what? You have someone with a fund worth lots of money, will have people who invest in it that will have more money. What are they going to do with it? Most likely consume more goods, which is fine, increases the economies wherever they are, but only a small fraction are actually going to probably take that money out and do something that will benefit the future. I would think. I could be wrong. Maybe everyone who makes all this money did go out and donate a lot of money and did make their own charity, and then like in a correct way to be able to set up their next business adventure, or maybe they have they produce something that just gives them perpetual income, and then they also have perpetual income with perpetual charity. I always remember the story about the personal power Tony Robbins was, and it's like he tried to cure hunger, and the story was he did 1 meal, 2 meals, and it just kept doubling and doubling and doubling. Apparently, he came from very poor upbringings. So yeah. So where was I going with this? That was about it. Well, I always say that. It's like all that for some reason. So I just revert back to that on stream. But yeah. So hopefully, we make something that does change the world for better, and is not pure. But then it's like, well, the problem is you do need money though. Like there's no denying it. If you do not have money, like the world treats you very poorly. I read in an email. That's the what is it? Andrew Tate. He has the emailing list. It's some good stuff. You can read it. He basically is like, the world tends to treat poor, broke men very badly. I'm pretty sure it would apply to poor, broke women as well. You got no money, what can you do? Especially, like I said, in my version of the world, how everything is and does relate and revolve around money. whether you know it or not, because like we saw, which was, I guess, through the Hexagon community, was drawn out that a lot of the people that you watch on crypto YouTube or crypto Twitter, I'm not even sure that's a word, crypto YouTube, you know, the quote unquote influencers, the ones that are still around, the ones that haven't been wrecked, the ones that were probably the same ones that shield everyone to the entire world, all the scams, every single scam under the sun, including Binance. Not to say that Binance is a scam, but now that we can see here that you know, they're not a scam, but you know, they were kind of violating anti-money laundering requirements, you know, and the CEO is going and where is it? Yeah, a few other things, you know, reportedly. Now, yeah, the thing is, the hard thing. See, this is the hard thing, right? So, okay, whatever. Whether you agree with that or not, how do we fix it? I'm not so sure. It's not like a fix that you can just rip the band-aid off and fix it. It's done. It's fixed. It's like it's gone generations deep. There's different. There's so many different aspects of the world I'm not aware of. Like I said, imagine if the ability was there for every single thing that you've ever known to be shared with someone else. That would basically make it possible for, I would say, a lot better communication, because if I'm driving and I understand fully what it is you are thinking and your history and the things that you have experienced, it would be easier to determine how you are more likely to act or not act in given certain stimuli. Now, imagine that being applied to the workplace. Imagine that being applied to your pets, you know. Imagine to other species, you know. It would make, I think it would make humanity insanely, not probably insanely wealthy, because you'd be like, oh, I know what this person needs, I know what this person wants. But I think it would make a more peaceful humanity, human race. Personally, I could be wrong, but at the moment, it appears as if quite often people will argue, and in essence, they probably agree with some things, but then the things they don't agree with, and they just really double down on why they are correct on that, and that causes huge conflict. In the geopolitical level, it causes war. Hot wars where they launch kinetic weapons at each other and kill other people. Like, that's what a war is. As we can see with many wars that have gone, many people that have died. For what reason, you know? Was it just purely lack of understanding the other person? Was it purely for this gain, for the control of the planet? Is this what we're designed for? So we have some people might be extremely happy, extremely trusting, extremely what's the word? Peaceful, like. But then, like I said, if there's other psychopaths in the realm, most likely, I would say, the psychopath is going to be ruling over the peaceful, calm person, because, that's the messed up thing. When really, you'd probably want the peaceful, calm person telling the psychopath what they should and how they should be doing, because maybe, you know, the psychopath on the road is a bit unhinged and goes nuts. I don't know. Causes more issues for the entire population of people traveling, you know. One incident can cause a bottleneck down the road because of pure ignorance and the inability to admit that one is wrong. And like I said, I think it comes back to communication, and this is why I think it is important for people to communicate via live stream their thoughts and express it out, because people aren't alone out there. But the original model, I think, was keep everyone isolated and funnel them into different channels. So you funnel them into work, and maybe not work so much because some people might not be in the right roles and shit like that. But if you have a bunch of people who are studying politics, and they become politicians, they're going to be funneled in a certain way. Whereas you have a group of laborers and they all work in different labor fields, maybe they have similar thoughts, and then when you ask them opinions on things, maybe they have differing opinions, hence the divide and conquer strategy. And maybe, just maybe, it was brought about by pure psychopaths. Um, but yeah, when you think about it, it's kind of interesting. Now, this sea of red. Back to cryptocurrency, and one thing I think will help myself gain some financial freedom and develop the economic energy is something, that can produce more of itself, even at the same price. And moving into the future, if it stays the same, it will be worth more of. But that is another story. I'll close it here because how long has this been going for? Let's have a look. Do I even have a timer anywhere? Here. Okay. All right. I'll leave it here. 32 minutes. And yeah. So I've left some reading if you want to read it. It's from the CIA. It's, been printed out for you to read at your leisure. What does the CIA not want us to know? Like that. Anyway, yeah. All right. Free speech. Signing out.